All right, obviously, here to talk about the move with Cap today, and I just want to start by saying I don't have one negative thing to say about Gabe Kapler, not just as a person, but from a professional standpoint. During his time with us, I mean, for me, he's one of the, I find, he's thoughtful, he's creative, he's incredibly hardworking, he's loyal, he's diligent. He's really passionate about this game. He was passionate about the job that he had and did, and we obviously reached some really high highs during his tenure here, and that's, I think, in a way what makes it so difficult for us to be here and have to turn the page on his tenure. I've said this a couple times publicly, and just to reiterate it, the thing that has been on my mind and on the mind of other people in this organization is, as a group, as a team, we played our worst baseball when it mattered the most. And, I know you guys have been working on figuring out why that happened, and there's a lot of questions for fans on why that happened. We have a lot of work to figure out why that happened. But, for us, we felt like step one was making this change. I think we're looking for new and different leadership in our clubhouse, different dynamic there. I think there's a lot of responsibility to go around and a lot of sense of accountability for what's happened today, starting with me. And I know that it's ultimately my job to put a product on the field that our organization is proud of and that our fans are proud of, and frankly, it just hasn't happened the last couple of years. That's been difficult for me. It's been difficult for a lot of people, but I also feel very determined to fix it, and I think collectively we can fix it, and we're just not satisfied with how things have gone the past couple of years. And I know I have to think about things differently. I know we as an organization have to do things differently, and a lot of those things are difficult, starting with the move today. So it's kind of a high-level view of how we've been thinking about it. Obviously, as far as the timing goes, this has been a topic of conversation in the organization, and it's been on my mind the last few days. And it just felt like, when we felt like a move was going to be made, and when we got to that determination, I think the thing that made most sense was to go ahead with it and not wait a couple days or wait till the end of the season. We just felt like that was the most fair and appropriate way to proceed once we had reached that point. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
What was your conversation with Gabe like today?
I spoke to him for an hour and did not expect that it would be that long of a conversation. I guess I wouldn't expect any different from him, but he made it really easy for me, whether he should have or not. Wanted to talk a lot about what my thoughts were, what my feedback was, and we had a lot of back and forth. So it wasn't really a personal conversation. It was really professional about what had happened and what he thought we could do better, what I thought we could do better. I really appreciated that conversation. He's really all about the work and trying to get better. And so I don't think it surprises anyone that knows him that he was looking for feedback right away, even in a moment that had a lot of gravity to it. So, again, I thought it was a really good conversation, and, he had time to talk to some people in the clubhouse and say goodbye to people, which was important. I'm sure he's going to do that in the coming weeks as well. I don't want to speak too much for him, but I will say that he was a total consummate pro.
Is this your call or ownership's call?
Yeah, as we said in the release, I made that recommendation based on where we were and, what was in the organization's best interest in my judgment. And obviously, in my position, for a move of that magnitude, I would look for their agreement, approval, and got that. And that's when we decided to move ahead.
Farhan, who's managing the team this week?
Kai Correa is going to be the interim manager for this series.
And then, as you're looking for a new manager after this season, does it complicate things knowing that you have a year on your contract and maybe a new manager may not be stepping into the most stable situation?
Look, being the manager of the San Francisco Giants is, I think, one of the most attractive jobs in baseball and in professional sports. So I don't really see that as an issue. I think people know that they'd be stepping into a great situation here with a great franchise, great ownership group, a lot of really good young players that we've seen for the first time this year. And so I think we're going to cast a wide net, and I think there's going to be a lot of interest. I think this is a really, really high sought-after job, as it should be.
You mentioned doing things differently. How much do you have to rethink the way you've put rosters together? And, you and Gabe worked hand in hand in the way you kind of went through games, openers, platoons, things like that.
I think it's a fair question, and I, talking on the radio yesterday, I sort of made the point that, on the one hand, there was this article in the LA Times about Jason Hayward yesterday talking about, a lot of the platooning and pinch hitting that the Dodgers have been doing, it's been part of a really successful season for them. At the same time, the composition of the rest of their roster is different, I guess what I would say at the end of the day is, these strategies, we don't view ourselves as a front office or as a coaching staff as being a system organization, whether it's platooning or using openers. I don't think we want to rule out any of those strategies when we think it gives us the best chance to win. But again, I was sincere in my comments yesterday. We have to look at everything, and to the extent that we have not put our players in the best positions to succeed and haven't gotten the most out of them, that's going to be part of the assessment this offseason, which I think is not just a matter of what strategies we employ in games, but also how the roster is constituted. So I kind of stand by what I said yesterday, that we're going to have to look at all of that.
Farhan, how do you evaluate having such a big coaching staff? There are a lot of positions at stake here with this staff that, has done it, a lot of committing to this way this has operated.
Yeah, I think our staff has been a huge asset over the last few years. A lot has been written about it. A lot of them. They're all great baseball folks. And, part of the difficulty of making a move like this is it brings into question what that looks like going forward, what the next manager is going to want in their coaching staff. But, I think they've all done a great job for us. Usually in these situations, the next manager is going to have some say in how the staff gets put together. And we're going to think that's important. But, I would give really a strong endorsement to our entire coaching staff. I think they've all done a great job.
Well, when you were talking to ownership, I assume it was Greg Johnson, or could have been some. Was there any discussion or before this about what you're going to do? Did you have to present a plan? Was there any discussion about you continuing from ownership to you?
Yeah, Greg's sort of voiced support publicly for me, and the expectation that I'll be back next year. I guess I would clarify that, that support does not constitute an endorsement of what we've done the last two seasons or any degree of happiness or satisfaction with the results we've had. I think Greg is pretty dissatisfied with us, being around 500 and not being in the playoffs the last couple of years, as all of us are. So, we've had a lot of conversations about how we get back to where we want to be and we need to be. We want to have a product that our fans are excited about, a product that our fans, come to the ballpark to see. And I recognize that. I think that's what ownership wants to see. And, I didn't know a lot of you all personally, and a lot of good people in this group, and you haven't had a lot of positive things to write, frankly, over the last couple of seasons. And I think from the ownership standpoint, from my standpoint, it's our responsibility to change the narrative around this team. We want people to feel good about it and excited about the team, and we've had a lot of conversations about that. So, to answer your question, I know Greg's addressed it before, and I've gotten support to do what we need to do, but again, that doesn't shouldn't suggest that the board's happy or that Greg's happy with how the team's played the last couple of years, because nobody is.